Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Locked In Podcast, Season 3, Episode 6. Today, I'll be joined by two wrestlers at Grand Valley State University, Sage Mortimer and Emma Donovan. So let me bring them in here. Welcome in, ladies.
Hi, thank you.
How you guys?
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, of course. How you guys doing today?
Super good.
Super good. There's a lot of snow over here. I'm trying to stay warm, but we're holding on.
Yeah, the snow I could do without, that's for sure. Not a huge snow fan.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, absolutely. So you guys can follow Sage and Emma on IG as displayed on the screen here. So here is Sage's. It is @OneBlondieBeast _Sage. That's obviously Sage Mortimer there. And then we got Emma right here. Emma with 3 A's .Donovan on IG. And she's also got her fitness page, right, Emma?
Oh, yeah. That's if you want more wrestling content, click the link in my bio and follow the wrestling account.
There you go. I love it. All right, guys, to start things off, let's tell the viewers what weight class you guys both wrestle at GVSU and what year you're currently in. Sage, you can go first if you want.
Okay, so I'm a junior and I wrestle at 110.
And I'm a freshman. I'm redshirting this year, and I wrestle 131.
Awesome. So how's the season going thus far for you guys and for your guys' team?
Sage, do you just need to answer every question first?
Yeah, sure.
I think that would work best. Sweet.
I have certain ones in here where I'll ask you guys specifically, but then, if you guys want to just hop in randomly for the other ones, that's fine. So.
All right, sweet.
Yeah,
it's but the season is going really good. We had our first home duel a couple weeks ago, and that was so much fun. We had a lot of support. A lot of people come out for that. And then we just had a tough duel against North Central last weekend, and that was a lot of fun too. And then we're making a name for ourselves already. We're ranked 5th right now, right, in the country.
Yeah, I think we actually went up to 4th.
Oh,
awesome.
Yeah. So we're climbing. It's going great.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
It's been awesome. It's been really great. Like we had our, like Sage said, our first home duel, and we had a clinic, and we posted like the signups for the clinic. It was like a K through 12 age clinic, and we didn't think that we'd get a lot of signups because we posted maybe like the week before the clinic, and we ended up getting like over 60 girls signed up, and it was just so cool seeing that all these girls want to come and be a part of the new Grand Valley Women's Wrestling program and come support us, and that was really awesome having all of them out there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like I'll get into this a little bit later, so I don't want to touch on it too much right now, but women's wrestling, that's obviously grown quite a bit over the past few years, and it's really cool to see that.
Yeah,
it's
for
awesome.
Sure.
So what does the day-to-day life look like for you guys right now? Obviously in season, I know it's going to look different for Emma, possibly just redshirting wise. I mean, you're obviously there for the team, but schedule wise for class and for training, how's that looking?
Yeah, so I would say like I wake up, maybe have a lift Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then we go to class, and then we have wrestling practice at 1:30. Okay. And then after that, I kind of just hang out until I sometimes have an evening class right now, but we just finished classes this semester. So now it's just going to be like 2 days training for the winter break. But yeah, honestly, it's pretty simple. I went like a couple weeks where I was just obsessed with wrestling, and I was just in the wrestling room like basically all day.
That's great. I love that.
Yeah, my schedule is pretty similar. I mean, all of our schedules, I'd say, are pretty similar because we have the same practice times, obviously. We got our list Tuesday, Thursday, class before practice. We got practice. And then, like Sage said, sometimes I'll have an evening class. And what's really nice about the wrestling room is Jake keeps it relatively open, so you can go in and out. So every now and again, like I'll go in the wrestling room at a time when I don't have a class and, get a workout in, break a sweat so I can stay on weight.
That's awesome. What are you guys majoring in?
So I'm accounting.
And I'm advertising and PR.
Okay. Awesome. That's really cool. All right. So getting into the wrestling side of things a little bit deeper here now. So starting with Sage for this one, what age did you get into wrestling and what made you get into it?
Okay. So I got into it when I was 8, and I just started because my older brother Quentin actually wrestled and my dad was the coach. And I think that like I had to be there at wrestling practice every day just to watch them. And then they would play like Sharks and Minnows or the shirt game, and my dad wouldn't let me play because I was a girl with all these guys. So I think I like started so that I could play the games, honestly.
I love that. That's awesome. Emma, how about you?
So I actually used to be, still kind of am, but I was mainly a runner in high school, and my dad, he ran track and cross country at Texas A&M, so that was actually my initial plans, was to run in college. But then in 7th grade, I had a cross country teammate, Josiah Thomas. I'll always thank him for this. He wrestled, and he was always trying to like recruit people to wrestle. That was like his thing. And he was just like, Emma, I think you should join the wrestling team. And I was kind of skeptical at first, but then I came to a practice and I really liked it. I thought, it could be pretty cool. But I really sucked when I first started. I didn't win a match like the first 2 years that I was wrestling. Didn't win 7th grade, didn't win 8th grade until the very last duel of the season. I won my first match in 8th grade. And then after that, I just kept winning, and it just went up from there.
Yeah, it's hard to compete in wrestling when you start late. It really is. Obviously, when everybody has a large competitive advantage with all the years under their belt, it's tough to catch up a little bit.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah. So Sage, what high school did you go to? I know you were in Utah, but what high school did you go to, and what did your high school years look like competing?
So I went to American Leadership Academy. It's in Spanish Fork, Utah. And that's just like a charter school. I had to wear a uniform actually.
Okay.
And it was a lot of fun though. I had my coach all growing up since I was 8 years old. He was the coach at that school, so that's why I decided to go there. And I was on the men's team or the boys team all 4 years there. And I was varsity. I qualified for state every year. I got 4th place at state my freshman year, and then after that, I didn't place at all. So, and then actually
that's pretty impressive, though.
Oh, thank you. My senior year, they didn't let me wrestle in the men's division because they sanctioned girls wrestling, so I wasn't able to wrestle them.
For sure. Yeah, so Emma, obviously I know your career here a little bit better because you were closer to me, but what high school did you attend, and what did your high school years look like? Obviously, girls wrestling became its own sanctioned thing here in Michigan a couple years back.
Yeah, so I wrestled at Forest Hills Eastern in Ada, Michigan, homegrown. And my high school career, like I said, middle school didn't start out too great, but then come high school, my freshman year was so 8th grade was when COVID really hit, and then freshman year was kind of that hybrid year afterwards. So my freshman year of wrestling, we had to wear masks, there wasn't really a whole lot going on, so I was kind of an off year. And then I remember at the end of the season, I busted up my knee pretty bad, so that kind of ended a little early for me. Then sophomore year, that was the first year I went to state, and that was huge because I was our school's first all-state wrestler in 10 years. And that was huge because I was also our girls' first female wrestler ever. So that was kind of a big deal. That was really awesome to be a part of that. And after that, it was on the come up. And, junior year, that was actually rough. I was at state, I was in the blood rounds. I was looking to win. And then I ended up dislocating my shoulder and collarbone in that match, which sent me home. I was on bed rest for a little bit. Not how I wanted to end my season, but, injuries make you tougher, make you stronger when you come back for more. And in my senior year, actually another injury, so fighting through that. But now I'm ready for college and ready to persevere.
Yeah. I know all about the injuries. It's been horrible. So I had to stop wrestling because I had 5 knee surgeries and an elbow surgery. The knees are what got me. So I just have really bad knees.
I think bad knees is kind of the trend here.
Yeah, it is. I didn't even get to compete. My junior year, I won state and then won Flow Nationals, and a week before Fargo, I blew my elbow out, and then came back my first tournament back my senior year and blew my knee out in the finals of that tournament. So I was done after that.
That's heartbreaking. That's awful.
Yeah, man. And then had it happen again at college, so hence why I'm not wrestling in college anymore.
Damn.
But yeah. So looking at college wrestling for you guys, competing in freestyle wrestling as opposed to folk style that the men compete in. At what point in your career did you guys start training freestyle wrestling? And Sage, you can go first if you want.
Yeah, I have always trained all three styles ever since I started. I did folk style, freestyle, and Greco. And actually, freestyle was my least favorite style out of the three. So,
Interesting.
yeah,
Right.
up until I would say like probably 16, I liked freestyle the very least. I liked Greco, then folk style, then freestyle. But now
Greco was your main one then.
Oh yeah, I love Greco.
All right, that's awesome. I like that.
That's so funny, Sage. I started wrestling freestyle actually not until my summer after my junior year, because I was asked to join the Team Michigan national team to go to Tulsa for junior national duels. So I remember when I first started wrestling, I didn't even know that there were multiple styles. Like I wasn't like I was a runner. I didn't know that. So I found that out. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, let's do this. So I remember I actually reached out to you, Sage, and I was like, hey, so I'm going to junior national duels, and it's in like a few weeks, and I don't know any freestyle. You think we could?
What?
Yeah, I did.
When was this?
This was my junior year. I didn't know any freestyle, and I was going to junior national duels. Like, I just knew folk style. I was like, yeah, I could do takedowns. I could just, So then I reached out to Sage.
Sage, not you, Sage.
Yeah.
Oh, I was like, what?
No.
I was like,
I reached out.
I
reached out to Guy Sage, Mr. Sage.
Yes, it's a hard thing.
Yeah. I feel kind of left out that my name isn't Sage here.
Right.
But no, I reached out to him because I knew he was working with coaching at Aries, the local wrestling club. And I was like, yeah, I really don't know a lot of freestyle. I know like you probably know a little better than I do. Could I come in for a one-on-one and you could show me some stuff? So I came in for a one-on-one, Sage, you showed me the ropes a little bit. And I was drilling some stuff with my coach every day before. I was Googling stuff. I was watching the YouTube videos, trying to figure out like what was what, the point system. And that was how I figured it out. And I went to Tulsa and we rocked it out and I made it work.
Yeah, I love that. To me, I was a big freestyle guy. I love freestyle. That was kind of my number one. Then I'd actually probably say folk style and then Greco. I liked Greco, but I wasn't as big as Sage was on Greco. That's for sure. So would you, going off of that? So would you guys prefer to wrestle folk style in college, or do you guys prefer wrestling freestyle? As obviously you guys do. I know it's tough. I personally would have liked to wrestle freestyle. Obviously the men's are folk style, but I would have liked to do freestyle. So what are your guys' thoughts on that?
I would say that I'm glad it's freestyle just because I have, those like Olympic and world championship aspirations. And so it kind of leads me right into that. I can train freestyle all year. And I think it really gives me like a step up on training for that. Just like the rest of the world is training freestyle all year. So I think it would kind of hold me back if I was training folk style. So I'm glad it's freestyle, but I do miss like the scrambles in folk style. I love the scrambling and honestly, we need women's Greco. What is that? Why don't we
need the women's Greco? We would have some beasts at women's Greco. I think that'd be awesome.
I know that
we should have that for sure. I agree on that one. So Emma, what are your thoughts on that?
So I definitely agree with Sage where, when you're training and competing at the next level, everything's going to be freestyle. You're not seeing folk style anymore. So it's kind of a little redundant to keep doing folk style in college when, especially like going on that next level, you're not going to be needing to do a stand-up anymore because, you're not going to get points from that. So I think that's definitely helpful. And I think, that kind of puts us at an advantage in the wrestling world. Like men's wrestling, they're still wrestling freestyle in college, but, when you go to the next level, or the wrestling folk style, but you go to that next level, everything's going to be freestyle or Greco.
Right.
But at the same time in high school, I really perfected my Granby. And I kind of miss it. I like getting into those scrambles. I'm kind of a funky wrestler. I like to do some funky things from the bottom. And, not going to be seeing that anymore, but that's all right.
Yeah, see, I agree with you guys. It's kind of redundant to have to wrestle folk style in college and then go on to the off season or the Olympics and it's all freestyle or Greco for us as men. But I know it's to me, it's kind of stupid still. And then I believe that you guys should be wrestling freestyle in high school if that's what you're doing in college, so that to me is still a little bit weird as well. But I don't know. It is what it is, I guess. I don't know what the reasoning is behind that.
Yeah, that was interesting. We were talking about that in the locker room one day, and we were like, why are we just not wrestling freestyle this whole time if that's what, the end goal is? And we were thinking maybe it's because you don't want like inexperienced JV kids trying to do suplexes, because maybe, I don't know, maybe that wouldn't maybe that wouldn't end the best. You kind of gotta have a certain expertise level, flexible level, but I don't know.
Yeah, I also think it is kind of hard then for a lot of the ones that are obviously, it's grown a lot, women's wrestling, but it's hard to be able to pull somebody for recruiting stuff as a coach if you've never seen them wrestle freestyle a day in their life. It's like, all right, what do we do with this? Yeah. So you guys, somebody could be really good at folk style, not good at freestyle. I've seen it before, that's for sure. So
yeah.
But Emma, so starting with you on this one, what college choices did you have coming out of high school? And what made you choose GVSU being the first recruit for the women's program?
Yeah, so I talked to a few other programs. I was looking at Life. I went out for some visits. I was looking at Alma. Initially, when I was picking colleges, there were a few others, but, don't have to name them all. But initially, when picking colleges, maybe like my junior year when I started looking, I was like, oh, like I got to go out of state. Like I gotta, like if you're not going out of state, you're not getting the full college experience. But then over the years, I became a lot closer with my family, and that became a lot more important to me. And I was like, maybe I wanna stay in state so I can, be around, like maybe come home for dinner every once in a while, be around for the holidays, easy access. So then I remember I actually found out about the Grand Valley Women's Wrestling Program my freshman year, because one of our like athletic people, he went to Grand Valley and he was like, hey, Emma, did you hear that? Grand Valley's going to start a women's wrestling program. And it's going to be like the year that you graduate. So it'll be your freshman year of college. So it would be perfect timing. I was like, oh, that'd be pretty cool. And it just kind of like went in one ear out the other, but it was always kind of in my mind. And then I remember around the time that, it was summer after my junior year, I was really thinking about it. And I was like, I think Grand Valley would actually be like a place I'd seriously want to go to, because my older sister, Maddie, we're really close, and she actually goes here as well. So I was like, maybe this is what I want. So I went to a wrestling camp at Lowell, which is a high school near me. They're like 11-time state champions. They're amazing. So obviously I had to go to that wrestling camp. It was going to be a good clinic. So Coach Simcoe, the men's coach at Grand Valley, he was actually one of the clinicians for one of the days. And I went up to him afterwards because I had my little notebook. I like to write down like the moves we learned. So I was asking him about that. And then I brought up at the end, I was like, so I've heard all this hearsay about women's wrestling program. And all I found online is that there was this donations that could happen. But I can't find anywhere to get recruited. I don't know anything about a coach. And then he was like, okay, so I'm not supposed to tell anyone this, but we just found our head coach. It hasn't been announced yet. He's like, do you know who Jake Short is? And I'd kind of heard his name a little bit because I was trying to, learn a little more. I was like, oh, isn't he like at Augsburg? And he's like, well, not anymore. He's like, he's going to be with us. I was like, oh, no way. So then he's like, let me get your number. I'll pass it along. So I gave him my number. And then, a week later, I think they announced that Jake was going to be the coach. And then he DM'd me on Instagram. Okay. He was like, what up, champ? You want to come out for a visit, And then I was like, heck yeah. So I came out for a visit. We went around. He showed me the facilities. He didn't even really know what he was showing me because it was his first week. But, I still loved what I saw. It's a D1 facility at a D2 school. And I think you don't get that a lot at a lot of other schools. And I literally texted him I texted him that night after my visit. Like, I didn't even take 24 hours. I was like, hey, Jake, I know I want to commit here. Let me know when I can come out and take some pictures in a singlet. I'm ready to take this to the next level. And that was that. I knew.
That's awesome. I like that a lot. So that's in depth there. And Jake Short, he's a really good coach, right?
He's amazing.
He's going out there. I know. Yeah, he's a great guy. So Sage, going to you now. You started at King University in Bristol, Tennessee, for 2 seasons. You finished third at NCAA's in 2022, second this past year. Talk a little bit about that experience there and why you ended up leaving to come to GVSU.
Yeah, so I went there for 2 years, and I was it was great. Everything was good. There was nothing wrong with the program or the team or the coach or anything, but I kind of had to take a step back after the US Open and after World Team Trials and my performance there and my just my wrestling and training as a whole. I had to reevaluate it. And after I reevaluated, I just kind of had this like talk with myself, and I was like, well, what do I want to do this? Like, what am I doing with this sport? Like, I know the Olympic season's coming up, and I had to reevaluate how I was training, because obviously I wasn't getting the results I wanted. And so as I was doing that reevaluating, I decided I'm going to put in a lot of effort this summer. I had a couple camps I was going to be a clinician at, and I was going to go out and train with some coaches at Titan Mercury in California. I had all this training set up for me for the Olympic cycle, and then I actually went to Utah, and Jake Short came out to Utah to be a clinician with me for a camp out there. And that's how I really met him. I knew him before from the college scene, but that's how I really met him. And we were both clinicians there. And then we, after each session, I would ask him questions or ask him about wrestling or ask him about this move. And it was actually so much fun. And I found myself loving wrestling as I was talking to him about these things. And I was like, oh, this coach is super talented. And I really click with this guy. So me and a couple of my friends went out to Minnesota to train with him for a week or so. And that's when I just really fell in love with wrestling again. I was excited putting on my shoes, and I hadn't felt that since I was in second grade. So it was super exciting to see that. And then a couple months later, I heard he was going to be the coach at Grand Valley State. So I was like, oh, maybe I need to consider this. And then on top of that, I had talked to my coach at King University, and he said he originally, when I was going to go there my freshman year, we talked about Olympic redshirting. And then I talked to him at the beginning of the year, and he told me that I couldn't Olympic redshirt. And I had all this training set up for the Olympic cycle, and I wanted to do things a little bit differently that year because I had reevaluated it. And he wasn't really on board with me doing that. And so I decided, it's kind of time for me to go try something else. So that's when I didn't even take a visit out to Grand Valley. I just trusted in the system, and I took a Olympic redshirt year, and I just trained for the Olympic trials. And yeah, I committed over here at Grand Valley, and it's been great ever since.
Awesome. That's a cool. I was interested in that story, so I'm glad that I was able to ask you that question. That's cool. All right, now going off track here, NIL. It's name, image, and likeness. How do you guys feel about it in general?
Oh, I think it's really awesome. I heard that was going to be a thing, and I was like, that is so lucky for me that that's a thing while I'm in college, because that's important for athletes to have that opportunity. I mean, people are coming out and paying money to come watch you wrestle and watch you perform, and you're not getting any money from that. So it's you should have the opportunity to make money while you're in college.
Yeah, I
absolutely agree with that.
Yeah, I love NIL. I'm a big advocate for NIL because as a student athlete, you're training a lot, you're keeping up in school, you're putting your nose to the grindstone. So you barely even have time to get a job if you want to do that, if you have the time. So NIL is a good way to make money off of doing what you do best, your sport. And, I think it's a fun way to do it. And it's also a great way to get your name out there.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I like you quoting Zach Bryan on that, nose to the grindstone. That's who sings that song, right? You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So I'm a big advocate for it too. I always thought, especially for the programs for football, right? Men's college football, they bring in a ton of money. Why can't those guys get a piece of that? And it's a very small piece compared to what they're actually bringing in. So, So I was huge on that. So, and then obviously going into NIL here. So Emma, what is it like being partnered with Rudis? Because you are partnered with Rudis now.
Yeah, so I remember one of my teammates, Aspen Blasco, she had signed with Rudis because she won Fargo, and so they had a Fargo champ box, and then they signed her as an ambassador, and then we made some videos together, and they reached out to Aspen. They're like, yay, would your teammate Emma want to sign? And signing with Rudis was one of the best things that happened to me this season. They've been so great to work with. I get a lot of new shoes if you don't see in my videos. So that's a plus for sure, because then it's nice I don't have to spend my own money on new shoes. That's really fantastic. And I really love the new color waves, like the Alpha 2.0s, the happy ones, the pink ones. I think that was the greatest day of my life when those dropped, because I'm such a pink girl. So I just love those so much. But no, I love working with Rudis. They're a great company. It's really nice working with a company that is centered around wrestlers because there are really not a lot of companies out there, if not like none. And I think they really have, the wrestlers' hearts at mind, and it's just really nice working with them.
Absolutely. So on the other flip side of that, Sage, what is it like being with Scrap Life? Because you're with Scrap Life.
Yeah, so in like high school, I really liked their shoes and stuff. And then I remember I was just like at a tournament one time, and Bo Nickel actually reached out to me, and he was like, "Hey, we would love to have you on board." Okay. And I was super excited about that. And that has just been great. Like they give me money to buy stuff on their website, and they send me gear every now and then. My contract actually just expired with them recently, so I'm looking forward to doing more NIL deals. So yeah, but they're great. I love Scrap Life stuff. Their shoes are awesome. Yeah.
There you go. So Sage is looking for some NIL deals here, guys. Let's rake them in here. I love it. So I'll give you guys a quick break here for a sponsor segment of today's episode, and then we'll hop right back into it here. So get that up here on the screen. This episode is brought to you by LifeVantage. Would you rather take antioxidants or make antioxidants? You'd have to eat 11 pounds of blueberries, 375 oranges, over 100 cups of broccoli, over 100 vitamin C tablets in one day to have the same antioxidant impact of one NRF2 activator. Your body's oxidative stress levels will be decreased by an average of 40% in 30 days. Activation or supplementation, which do you choose? If you'd like to learn more about NRF2 or purchase it, reach out to me directly on IG at SER_Sage or visit the link tree in my bio. Check out the LifeVantage website for yourself. Thank you, LifeVantage, for sponsoring today's episode. All right. That's something that you guys should be hopping onto here. So I can send you guys a little information on that. It's great for recovery. I take collagen every day, which that's great. It's liquid collagen for the lack of cartilage that I have in my knees. So it's definitely something that you guys would be benefiting from. So I can send you some info on that.
Awesome. Sweet.
Yeah. So let's move on from that now. So let's go into this for Sage here. So I'm going to display this picture on the screen, and now I'll ask you the question with it. Sage, October 24th, you won the 50 kg U23 World Championships in Albania. Talk about the emotions that came through you from that win and just how that overall experience was for you.
Oh my gosh, that was so much fun. I feel like I'm still on like such a high from that.
Yep.
I remember I had like every single emotion throughout that tournament, and it was just such a roller coaster, but like in the best way. Like, you get all those like emotions that come with competing, and it was just like all of those times 10 because it was the World Championships. And I remember just like getting so emotional after my semifinals match because I pulled off that win that was like super unexpected. I was not supposed to win that match at all. Like Umi Ito is an insane competitor. She's from Japan. And I somehow pulled it off because that's what I do. But like it was honestly just so insane. I got so emotional. I've never cried before because of a wrestling match. And I just immediately started crying on the mat. I was crying for like 10 minutes after that. And then I was not going to lose in the finals after beating such a tough competitor like Umi. So I had so much momentum going into the finals that it was just so much fun. It was a blast, the whole thing. I was lucky enough to have Jake Short come out and coach me. So he's my coach here at Grand Valley, obviously. And then he came out to Worlds and coached me too. So I was super lucky to have him.
That's awesome. So you already kind of answered this, but I'll have you touch on it a little bit more. So one thing about the World Championships there, you were getting beat in the semis with when all of a sudden she tried to gut wrench, you stepped over and collected a fall to advance to the finals there. Most people probably would have just gone through and said, you know what, screw it, I lost this match, but you battled through, you ended up winning, you ended up pinning her. Talk a little bit more about that match. Obviously you already touched on it, but what kind of goes through your head to have to push through and battle when you're down big and coming back and obviously getting the fall to go in and win a world championship after that.
Yeah. I remember my coach, Coach Short, he was like, there's going to be a time where you have an opportunity to pin her. So do it. Like, don't give it up. And it was crazy because that like really came true. And I remember
Right.
like thinking in the moment, I was like, what the heck? Like coach told me this was going to happen. And I was like, I am not letting her off her back right now. Like there is no way. You can see in the video, I squoze her as hard as I could. But honestly, I just never, I always believe in myself. Like I never am doubting myself. It doesn't matter if I'm down 9-0 or whatever's happening. I'm just always like in the match. And yeah, she's really good, but honestly, like she was pulling my hair.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and those things come up like in world championships, like those other, like those wrestlers from other countries, they wrestle dirty because they want to win.
Right.
And so like you're gonna have to overcome these things when you're on that big stage. And so it was like, I'm gonna find a way no matter what. And yeah, so it was just awesome. It was super exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love the fact that you don't ever doubt yourself there, and congratulations on winning that. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So Emma, kind of going off on a tangent here. Did you compete in any other sports growing up? I know you did, but which ones? And why was wrestling the sport that you ultimately decided that you wanted to stick with? Sorry, stick with.
I was a very active individual throughout high school. I earned 10 varsity letters, so 4 for track, 4 for wrestling, 1 for cross country, and 1 for soccer. Yeah, I joined soccer my senior year. I did that at the same time as track because I was going to end up with 9 varsity letters, but I was like, we got to make it 10. So I did track and soccer at the same time. It was fun. But like I said, I started out a runner. Track was my main thing. I kind of did cross country, but I wasn't that big in distance. So that's why I stopped my freshman year. But yeah, no, I joined wrestling and it really took off from there. When I was a kid, I did soccer. I was actually on an all boys team for soccer because my brother started doing it and I'd had to come to the practices and watch. But then I was like, this looks like kind of fun. So I was like, Mom, can I join? And then they signed me up. I was the only girl on that team. So I'm no stranger to being the only girl on the guys team like I was in high school. And I did ballet for a little bit. When I did that, I wanted to be a ballerina. But, now I'm a wrestler. And I know, crazy to picture, right? But
yeah.
I wouldn't want to have it any other way. I think there's no adrenaline rush like you get when you're in the middle of the mat and it's just you and your opponent. I really like that. There's no better feeling than getting your hand raised. That's the best part, hand in the air. That just really solidifies winning. And even when you don't win and you lose, there's always ways to improve. And, I love going back watching film. And at the end of the day, I think wrestling's the best sport in the world. And there's no other place I'd rather be.
Awesome. So Sage, did you compete in any other sports growing up? And why was wrestling the sport that you stuck with?
I definitely started out with wrestling, I would say. I mean, I did like little league soccer and stuff, but I would say I kind of started out with wrestling, and then I did club level soccer, so like the travel team or whatever. And then I did volleyball in high school, and I also did cross country for 1 year in high school. Yeah, I think that's all the sports I did, but honestly, wrestling just clicked with me. It's just kind of felt like it was my thing ever since I was a kid, and I was very naturally talented. And I had a lot of success right at the beginning. So it was just like so much fun for me. And also I love like the individualness of it, because when I work on like when I'm playing soccer or volleyball and it's a team thing, I'm like so competitive that I really struggle with that. But I mean, being on a team is a good learning opportunity too. But yeah, I love the individualness of wrestling.
I completely agree with that. I know like I said, I was a big football guy. You have fingers to point at everybody. Hey, this guy didn't do his job. This guy didn't do his job. So you know what? It wasn't my fault that we lost. Well, wrestling, you go out there. If you lose, you lose. So it is what it is.
Very true.
Absolutely. Yep. So women's wrestling, right? A sport that wasn't huge until the past couple of years. It is one of the fastest growing sports in the nation at the moment. Why do you guys believe that is? And how excited were you guys during the whole women's wrestling movement a couple years back?
Oh, me first?
You got it. Let's
go with that. Unless if you want me to go first, I'll go first.
Yeah, you want to take this one?
Yeah, I'll take this one.
Okay. Here we go.
I think the whole movement with women's wrestling growing, I think that makes it so much more magical to be a women's wrestler, because you've got little girls that are looking up to you because, you know, they're only like, they don't see all that. And then, like, I remember I was at a tournament and, you know, I won my last match. And then this little girl, I didn't even know who she was. I guess, like, she was hanging out near my mom in the stands. And after my match, she just ran up to me and she, like, gave me a high five. And I was like, oh, that's cool. So I guess, like, her brother was wrestling at that tournament and then she was watching me. And I think that's so cool having little girls looking up to you. You know, at our clinic, I had girls come up to me saying they watched me in high school. You know, they follow me on Instagram. They're like, oh my gosh, Emma, I'm your biggest fan. And I think that means so much to me to be able to make a difference and make an impact in that community. And I think female athletes need they need people to look up to, and they need to realize that they can do anything that a guy can do. And, you know, to be a part of the growth and making a difference, I think it's so cool, and I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
That's great. That's awesome. Sage, you got anything to add on that?
No.
She touched it. She touched every subject that you want to touch on. That's great.
Yes.
Awesome.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love seeing women's wrestling grow. I'm a big culprit for when they, you know, spread out and they're like, okay, you guys are only wrestling girls here, because obviously the size and guys and just, you know, hitting puberty, all that, it definitely makes a difference. You know, it is what it is. So, you know, just getting it to the point where it was its own sport for you guys, that was awesome. I was a huge fan of that. So yeah, go into this. Let's start with Sage on this next one here. If you guys had to describe the sport of wrestling with 1 or 2 words, what would that word or 2 be? I know this is a tough question. I thought about this too.
1 or 2 words?
Yes. 1 or 2 words. Yep.
Oh my gosh.
I know I'm putting you on the spot. I mean, there's so many things with this sport. It teaches you a lot about life. And, I just was wondering with you guys, what you guys think. 1 or 2 words. Emma, do you have anything already? Okay, go ahead.
I'm still thinking. Sage can take this one first.
So I don't know if this one really fits, but I think one phrase that comes up in my brain a lot throughout my career is bittersweet, because I think that, like, even with, like, the losses, it's so hard, because it's like, this is just a sport and it is just a game. But with me, I've dedicated my life to this. So, like, when I lose, it's like super, like, personal, you know, and I'm so competitive. But then it like comes back around. It's like, this is just a game. Like, take yourself out of it. It's not, like, it's really not that deep. But yeah, so it's like everything that happens, it's like bittersweet. Like, I don't know. It's like exciting, and like even like cutting weight. It's like, this is part of the sport. Like, it sucks, but you're doing it and it's fun. And one day it's going to end and you're not going to get to do these things anymore. So yeah, I think that's one phrase that comes up a lot in my career.
I think that's a good one. I like that one. That's a really good one.
That's really good. The word I would say to describe wrestling is probably tough, because one, not only is it a tough sport, it is hard. Anyone that has wrestled will tell you that it is hard. It's not easy, but you also have to be tough. You know, not just anyone can be a wrestler. You gotta, like I said earlier, you gotta have your nose to the grindstone. You know, you have to be focused, and you gotta be willing to put that extra work in outside of practices. And I think, you know, it's tough, but it's so worth it. You get out of it exactly what you put into it. You know, you're putting those extra hours in. You're going to see that on the mat, because, like you said, when you're out there, it's only you. You can't blame anyone else. But, you know, I also like that because you did that. You know, it's not like, oh, someone else made the game-winning goal. That was you. You did all that. And I think the toughness of that, it's really beautiful. And that's why I love wrestling.
That's good. Those are good. I was interested to see what you guys had to say on that, because for me, it's a love-hate relationship. Honestly, if I had to pick 2 words, it's love-hate, because there's not a feeling that, like, stepping on the line and battling, you know, against one other person. It's a dogfight out there, and then it's a hate relationship because of everything it's done to my body, and still to this day that I feel every day when I wake up. Right. But it's definitely, it's a sport for life. And, you know, I'm married now, and I think about it when I have kids. I'm like, you know, I would like to explore other options just for them to play sports, and something that I am not an expert in, you know, quote unquote. So I'd love to see them do something else, but at the same token, I'm like, it's a sport of life. And I think it's something that everybody should do at the same time. So it's a tough spot for me in that position.
Oh, dang.
Right. So, all right. And then we kind of touched on this, and I already kind of know what you guys are going to say here. Do you believe wrestling is the hardest sport, and why or why not?
Yes, I do, obviously. It is, and I think it's just because of all the things that go into it, like all the challenges, and then also how individual it is. Obviously, it's just like it's really tough on your mindset, and then also like on your body, and everything about wrestling is just like it makes you a better like person in general just because of how tough it is. So yeah, I think it's the best sport.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Emma, you agree?
I would definitely agree with that. Like I said, I've played a lot of sports in my life, and you don't work as hard as you do at wrestling. Like when I played soccer my senior year, I was having fun because of practice. We were running around, we were kicking a ball, like it was fun. But at a wrestling practice, instead of kicking a ball, you're getting your ass kicked. But you work through that. That makes you better. I've learned to love getting beaten down because I know it makes me better, and you learn from that. And like Sage said, it's so individual, and you don't get that out of any other sport in the way you do in wrestling.
Right. I know a lot of people will bring up like UFC or MMA in general. They'll be like, hey, that's harder because you're getting kicked in the face and you're getting punched in the face. And it's like, well, if you look at that sport and you look at wrestling, you're in a constant stance, right? And you're really at constant movement and it's constant contact. MMA, you're sitting here with your hands in the air, right? But you're not constantly doing something. Right. It's a hard thing because MMA is hard. Don't get me wrong. But I mean, wrestling in general, I think it's just a harder sport to compete in. So,
yeah, I need to try MMA and compare the two.
I've watched MMA fights. I've seen that. And I've got a lot of respect for those people. I can say that I could go out there and do that, but I genuinely don't know if I could go out there, get punched around. Like I'll wrestle, takedowns, you could suplex me, that's all right. But I really don't know if I could ever do MMA. I have so much respect for those people.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah. I boxed for 5 years during my whole knee problems that I had. It was kind of on and off boxing for 5 years. I did a little bit of jiu-jitsu, not even a full year of it. And I always thought, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to wrestle in college. And then if I can't do the Olympic scene or the world scene, I'm going to go ahead and just get into MMA. And then I had the injuries and I still want to get out there. I feel good. I feel like if I have my own training regimen and if I'm like, listen to my body, that I could go do it. But the wife shuts me down every time. She's like, you can't walk as it is, really. I'm like, okay. Yeah. But so Sage, is that something that you want to pursue? Obviously you have a couple years of college left. Is that something that you'd be interested in pursuing after?
Yeah. I think if my life kind of goes that way, then I would definitely be interested in it. Do you know, are there any like MMA gyms around here? Do you guys know?
Yeah, so I actually, like I just said, I had Mondo Gutierrez. He was on the Contender Series and the Ultimate Fighter. I had him on last Sunday. He trains. It's not technically around here, but it's Simmons Academy of Wrestling. He has a facility in Lansing, and that's where Murcielago MMA. That's his affiliate. That's where they train. It's not crazy far. It's like probably an hour and a half from where you guys are at. But that's the one around me. And then there's all like, the title boxing and all that, but that's not an MMA gym. So I think SAW is kind of the only one around here that I know of at the moment.
Yeah, I think that would be really awesome. And then also I just kind of, I've always looked up to like Aaron Pico. I try to wrestle like him, and he's in the MMA scene right now. And my dad's kind of friends with him. So like, I feel like maybe if he could mentor me, and then also Bo Nickel with Life, if he could mentor me, that would be a lot easier or something. If something like an opportunity like that came up, then I would definitely take it. But other than that, I might just like coach or I don't know.
Yeah. Emma, is that something that you're interested in?
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, I've got a lot of respect for those people. Maybe, like they said, if the opportunity arose, I'm willing to try anything. So I would definitely try it.
Right.
But pursuing it as a career, I'm not sure that would be for me. I'm going to wrestle for as long as it'll take me. But, I've been kind of interested. I had some people telling me that I should maybe go into the WWE. They think I'd have a good
Okay.
character for that. So,
Yeah.
maybe if that opportunity arose, I'd look into that. I know Peyton Prussian from Life. She was a great collegiate wrestler. I looked up to her. She's now in the WWE. So, I don't know. Maybe I'd do that. But I definitely am getting my degree. I love what I'm doing here. So, seeing where life takes me and going on from there.
Awesome. Yeah, I know Miranda Maverick. She's a UFC fighter right now. She actually fights this weekend, and I'm talking to her about getting her on the podcast too. So it'll be interesting to see her thoughts behind MMA and how the UFC is and all that. So hopefully we can get on here and get a little advice from her. And Sage, if that's something you do in the next couple of years, we can get her on your side too. So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah. So all right, moving on. This last question I have here for you guys. For any upcoming young ladies that look up to you guys for wrestling, what would your words of advice be for their upcoming journey that they have ahead of them?
I would say take it all in for one, because I always miss doing these like little kid tournaments and like
Right.
the younger, more fun tournaments. And now it's like in my career, it's like more serious, and I can't really I still do have fun, but when I was younger, I was having so much fun. So really take it in and appreciate that you're young and have a lot of fun. And then also kind of take self accountability, because that's one thing I think that it took me a long time to learn, is to like not rely on a coach or your parents or anything like that to get you better. I know it's hard when you're young, but take self accountability and train by yourself, find opportunities by yourself, and don't rely on others to do that for you.
Yeah, Sage, you said that really well. I would definitely agree with everything you said. I would also add that you always got to keep your head up. You're not always going to win, and you still have to have a positive mindset. But also with, women's wrestling is growing, but it's still so new. There are still so many girls that are the only girl on a guy's team. And that can be really hard as a girl. You're not surrounded by girls. You're surrounded by guys that a lot of times don't even want you on their team because, some guys still think it's a guy's sport. And, that's all right. But you got to keep your head up because, at the end of the day, it's just you. And you can do it. It's going to be hard. But if you keep your head up, you keep working, you can achieve anything you want. You can beat these boys. I know they're tougher, stronger, but you can do it. And always have fun. Like Sage said, wrestling is really hard. And you got to remember, yeah, it is just a sport at the end of the day. I love wrestling. Wrestling has become my life. But you got to remember to have fun with it, because if you don't have fun, it's going to be really, really hard. And you got to have fun in those matches, find ways to have fun in practice. And I think you keep the fun in wrestling. That's why we love it so much, because we have fun with it. And I think that's why we love Coach Jake, because he really puts the fun in wrestling.
Absolutely. Yeah, I coach every night at Michigan Premier now. We combined grappler and Aries. So now we have probably around 120 kids every night that we see. And it's like, I just see it all. And I'm like, guys, stay having fun with the sport. It's the same thing with our high school guys that come in. If I'm doing individuals with them, I'm like, if I could go back and change something, it'd be take the sport a little less serious and just have fun with it. Enjoy the moment. It's, you're blessed to be able to just step onto the mat in general. So let's just have fun with it and make it happen. Let it fly. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's awesome. Well, Emma and Sage, I appreciate you guys joining me for season 3, episode 6 of Locked In Podcast. I'll be watching your guys' season closely and hope to be in the stands supporting you guys in an upcoming duel. And again, I appreciate you guys joining.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks to everyone watching. And don't forget to follow Sage and Emma on IG to stay up to date with their careers here. Also follow the podcast at official_locked in podcast for all the updates there. Thank you again, ladies, and best of luck the rest of the season.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.